Hey everyone, this is Doc Wilson, and this is my first episode of my online cooking show called Just Try It. The goal for this cooking show is for me to try new things and try teaching new things as I go along. It's possible it will all go horribly wrong and the food won't taste good, but it's worth trying because I honestly think food is about exploring new things and trying new flavors and tastes, and maybe trying things that you think could be done better, possibly. And for instance, today we're going to do pecan pie. Pecan pie is taken from the Charleston Receipts cookbook. Receipts is the name that they use for recipes back in the day in this southern culture. And the pecan pies that I've always had usually have too much of the syrup part and not enough pecan. And I was really excited to find out that the recipes included in this cookbook actually have about a 1-to-1 ratio of the syrupy liquid part and the actual filling and the pecan itself. So I'm actually pretty excited to try this. What I've done was I've combined a couple of these recipes together into one mega recipe, and that's what I think also is pretty exciting is when you're trying new things is to maybe take your own cooking talent, if whatever that comes from, and try coming up with your own little recipe, or taking a recipe that's already there and maybe adding a little flair to it. So what I'm going to have for this recipe is 1 teaspoon of vanilla. We want 2 eggs beaten. We want 1 cup of dark caro syrup. We want about 1 to 2 cups of pecans. We want to also use, a pie sheet that's uncooked, pie crust specifically, and you're going to have to put it in a pie container. I also want to use 1 tablespoon of milk, some sea salt, probably just a dash, tablespoon of butter. Also, you're probably going to need a little butter just to put the inside of this so that the pie crust doesn't stick too much to it. And of course, you're going to need some measuring utensils. So when I was reading these little recipes in this receipt book, they're basically explanation for making the pie is pretty straightforward. It just seems like you're just blending a bunch of ingredients together as simply as possible. So there probably isn't any need for us to get a little crazy and spend too much time on making this. So in the meantime, while you're preparing these ingredients, you'd want to preheat your oven. So set it to 350. Some other recipes I saw recommend 375, so it depends on your oven. But I just did 350 because I figure it's usually better to start with a lower temperature because otherwise you don't have to worry about overcooking it. So 350, and they typically say about 30 to 35 minutes. So we're just going to shoot with 30 minutes and then check it. All right, so we first want to make sure that you get your pie pan nice and buttered up. Plus, adding more butter to a baked good item is just going to make it taste better anyways. So since we're preheating our oven right now and it's getting warmed up, I could just throw in a little block of butter. I don't know, maybe a half tablespoon will be fine. And just throw that in the oven to melt. Alright, so we throw that in there a couple minutes just to let it melt a little bit. You can also throw obviously it in the microwave to heat up, or you can just put your butter in a little jar and melt it and then put it in, or you can just take the butter and put it and then rub it against the surface of the glass. It's up to you how you want to do it. In all the recipes, they basically ask you to put about 1 to 2 eggs in there. Some actually call for 3 eggs, so I figure the mean of that would be just be 2 eggs. I got cage-free eggs here. They got dark yolk. I don't know if that's going to change the flavor, but I figure If we're going with dark corn syrup, might as well go with a dark yolk egg, just because why not? That'd be neat. I've never done this type of egg before. I'm sure any kind of egg is fine for whatever your needs are. That is not a dark yolk. Okay. I don't know why they said that. I was thinking it was going to be like red or something. That looks just like a regular egg. Never mind. That is false advertising. Alright, so blending eggs are obviously really simple. I just use a fork. You could use a whisk if you want, but I really don't think it matters for this type of recipe because we're not trying to make it fluffy. This isn't supposed to be like a creamy dish. So I think just typical blending. Oh, I guess this semi-dark yolk. I don't know. I was honestly thinking it could be like brown or something. Might as well add the salt now. I think it was a teaspoon of salt. Well, it's really just a dash of salt, really, let's be honest. So for a dash of salt, what I usually just do is I put it in my hand and just pinch it in. That's probably fine. I mean, the butter is going to be salted, and then I'm sure this has got plenty of sodium. Actually, it's only 45 milligrams. It's not that bad. So far we've got our eggs and our salt. We could also melt some butter. Might as well just use the microwave for this part. So when you're melting your butter, a tablespoon of butter in your microwave, 30 seconds should be plenty of time. Of course, just make sure you're using microwavable dishware and all that good stuff. So we've got our pie pan that had, I don't know, like a half tablespoon of butter. We melted that in there. So you just coat that. Half tablespoon may have been a little too much, but it's fine. It's fine, everything's fine. We could just dump the excess. Dump the excess in here. Skadoosh. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're gonna set that aside and let that harden up a little bit. Okay, we got a tablespoon of semi-melted butter, but there it is. Okay, it's melted now. Alright, and we'll just add this to the eggs. Just fold it in a little bit. It's fine. Alright, then we got some milk. Let's go ahead and do a tablespoon of milk. So with cooking, with baking, you almost exclusively have a base ingredients of milk, butter, and eggs, sometimes flour as well. Okay, mix this up. This makes it a little more lighter yellow. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Okay, what we also need to do, vanilla also is very important for baking. Oh, this stuff is pretty yummy. Got myself a Madagascar bourbon pure vanilla extract. Now you can do vanilla seeds as well, but those are crazy expensive. They're a lot more powerful, so you probably would only need maybe half of a seed, a half of a pod, possibly. I don't really use those because they're really expensive. I think it's just so much more cost effective to buy vanilla extract because, you know, it just lasts longer. And try to get pure vanilla extract, not the imitation, because, I mean, if you're going to spend the money for something that you're going to hold on to for years, just get the good stuff. Oh my god, so good. So this is a teaspoon of vanilla. Nice, that's a lot. Oh my god, this is gonna be so good. Like, thankfully, Sometimes you gotta know that something's gonna taste good no matter how much you could possibly screw it up just because the ingredients are good. Like, I have organic milk, cage-free eggs, top quality vanilla extract, you know, so on and so forth. I mean, I think top quality ingredients are just gonna make it good. I'm sure you can get generic ingredients too and they're still gonna taste good just because these items are just scrumptious. Alright, so this is gonna make the eggs mixture a little darker. There we go, there's the dark yolk eggs I was talking about already. Alright, so that's pretty amazing. Now, I'm using only the dark Caro syrup, only because I'm allergic to sugar. So this really doesn't have sugar in it. I mean, table sugar, cane syrup. So this has got corn syrup and refiner syrup. Refiner syrup might be sugar, but it's only got 11 grams of sugar, so that's okay for me. But for the folks out there that don't give a shit and actually are not allergic to sugar, go for it. Add like one recipe here says 2/3 cup of brown sugar and then 1/2 cup of like white cane syrup. So, you know, go crazy, do whatever you want. I'm gonna just put the pecans in now. This is 2 cups. You can always add more later. But I think if it's pecan pie, it needs a lot of pecans. And then I'm adding 1 cup of this. So it's gonna be a 1-to-2 ratio of syrup to pecans. So it's going to be more pecan-y. That's not a word. Yeah, that looks pretty good. You see that? I don't know if you can see that, but we'll get a close-up of it later. Alright, so this is all rolled up, ready to go. If you want to be a crazy person, oops. Okay, well that happened. I guess this is very easily breakable. Alright, whatever. Aw. Should I warm this up first? Alright, so I guess we're going to have to warm this up first. That was a mistake. Alright, you know what? We're doing crumbly crust. Fuck it. It's fine. Everything's fine. So I'm guessing I probably should have warmed this up in the microwave. I had this in the fridge for a long time, so I figured it was defrosted enough. So, get your hands dirty. Of course, obviously you should have your hands washed ahead of time. This is fine. Just squish it together. So, I guess the traditional way of doing pecan pie would be a graham cracker crust. I guess you could buy one of those like ready-made, pre-made. Oops, there we go, cracking the knuckles. You make one of those pre-made ones with graham cracker crust. I'm sure that would be badass, but it's fine. So, I mean, I think this is a good thing that we had the butter in there. Otherwise, this would be a hot mess. But, well, I mean, it's already a hot mess, but it's alright. It'll form together in the oven. Just trying to seal up those holes. And it adds that little bit of homemade quality to it. Besides, I'm the only one eating this, so it's not like I'm trying to impress anyone. Yes, I'm going to eat this whole pie by myself because I'm a crazy person. But I have enough ingredients to make another one for my colleagues at work. But this in. I don't know if this is gonna rise. I'm assuming it won't because it doesn't have flour in it. So I'm adding about a half more cup of pecans just to get it a little more even. Get that out too. Get all the rest of that syrup out. This is totally professional cooking show. All of this was pre-planned, of course. It's pretty badass looking, I think. So, we finished cooking our pecan pie. We had it set for 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. However, it had to cook a little longer than that. The browning of the crust happened in 30 minutes, no problem, but the filling was still soft and it wasn't really rigid at all, so I had to cook it a little longer. The best way to know when your pie is done is to stick it through. It should come back pretty clean for the most part. Also, just telling that it's like more rigid will tell that it's good, whereas before it felt still fluid, like kind of like a waterbed. So I knew that that wasn't complete. So this is the fun part now. Let's cut into it. It's still a little moist. What I would do if I did this again would probably add flour to it to make it tougher, because this is falling apart, as you can see. No, it's still pretty good though. It's not very sugary, so maybe I would add a little sugar to it too. Overall, it's still, I would say, still got that nice pecan consistency throughout, which is really what I was shooting for, so I succeeded in that regards. So there you go. This has been Just Try It with Doc Wilson. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Obviously, I think it still needs a little more tweaks, but bon appetit.